Breeders' Cup 2024 Future Stars Friday in the book. And we did see some amazing performances today. We saw Lake Victoria, the undefeated two-time Grade 1 winner, come into America and win the Breeders' Cup Juvenile Fillies on the turf. We also saw Citizen Bull, the big strapping son of Into Mischief, go wire to wire at Old Del Mar. And we had 3 10-1 or higher horses win today on the afternoon. We started it off with a 12-1, and then we had Citizen Bull had a couple of nice exactas, and we closed out the day with Henri Matisse bet down to 7-2 for Aidan O'Brien. Wanted to take a look at the Saturday races. If you're watching this, of course, on Saturday, 3 o'clock Eastern, 2 o'clock Central, the Breeders' Cup will start with race number 4. We're going to take a look at some of the things that I'm highlighting. Of course, I'm still working on my free tip sheet. My free tip sheet today had 3 winners on top. I did have the winner of the first race, Juvenile Turf, Magnum Force, also had Immersive, and I did have Citizen Bull as my third selection. So a good day on the wagering front. Let's get back at it. Some pick 5s, pick 4s, doubles, and exactas tomorrow, all part of the Breeders' Cup. But let's get started. If you have a question or want to talk about a horse, make sure to put that in the chat. We're going to be talking about the Breeders' Cup Classic, the Breeders' Cup Turf Mile, the Breeders' Cup Sprint. We have a chance at some fast paces on Saturday. But let's kick it off. First off, Friday is already in the books. November 2nd tomorrow. After it all shakes out, we're going to set our clocks back as a tradition. But let's take a look. You know, there's some fast paces projected for all of the dirt races tomorrow. The Timeform pace projector has a fast pace expected for the Classic, the Filly and Mare Turf, along with the Sprint and the Dirt Mile. So that's something to keep in mind. We do have full fields, and normally when you have full fields on the dirt, the jockeys want to establish position, and we do get some fast paces. Now, in the Filly and Mare Sprint, this kicks it off, race number 4. Let's take a look at this one. You know, I think the betting is going to come down to really a couple of horses. You've got Society, you've got Ways and Means, and you've got Vava. Now, going into the Ballerina, Vava was the big favorite. Society really stepped up. She ran a big race that day, and she is now projected to be one of the favorites along with Ways and Means. Ways and Means, trained by Chad Brown, 3 straight dominating wins as a 3-year-old. 2 of them were against 3-year-old fillies. The test stakes, a Grade 1. Then she went into the older horses last time, picked up a win in that race. A horse that I think you may want to take a look at is Scylla. She did run at Del Mar early this year, and she ran in a mile and a 16th race. Then she went back east, cut back to a sprint. She ran in the Society race. Now she goes back to Del Mar. She's been running mile and the 16th races. I think 7 furlongs could be her best distance, and she's finally going to get a chance to run that on Saturday. So Scylla is one of those long shots that could be in play tomorrow. Now, JL has a question. Anything track-wise stand out to you? Thursday, the rails seemed to be working on the dirt course, but I thought in general the track was fair, and it was kind of individual race pace. Overall, JL, I would agree with that. The only thing is, you know, East Avenue broke slow, and they went 47 and change in the juvenile. They did go faster in the juvenile fillies, and that race fell apart. So I would think overall it's a fair track, but it's not favoring speed. Now, Nooney went out there and ran a sub 45. Nobody was going to hang on. So it's definitely not front running. It does seem like the horses stayed a little bit off the rail today, and it seemed like they stayed a little bit off the rail on Thursday. So I would say you don't want to be on the rail, but especially on the dirt. Now, the turf course seems to be playing absolutely fair, and I think with the different distances with the dogs up tomorrow, the turf course is lush and it's playing fair. So I do think that overall the track played fair, but I do think you on the dirt, maybe the middle of the track could be the place to be. But let's watch a couple of races tomorrow. Now, Society, a couple of things to point out about her. She's 4 for 7 at 7 furlongs. She's by Gun Runner. You know, I think last year she ran in the Breeders' Cup. She ran 4th, but she prepped at Charlestown, which is a bull ring. This year she won the Ballerina. You know, overall, she's a hard-hitting filly. 8 wins, 14 starts. She definitely brings an A-game type of performance. If you notice, though, she either wins or runs out of the money. Look at that. She ran 3rd in the Chicago, 4th in the Filly and Mare. She ran 9th in the La Troyenne. She ran 3rd in the Madison. So she doesn't run 2nd. She either runs 1st or she tends to run 3rd or worse. So that's something to keep a note on with Society. I don't know if I'd play her 2nd in that exacta. Mark is asking about double payouts. They will be showing them at Horse Racing Nation. If you have a Twin Spires account or an Express Bet account, if you click on the doubles, even though you can't bet on them anymore, if you look at the will pays, you can see the will pays. Let me see if I can log in here and quick show you, Mark. So I'm going to show you on Express Bet. Let's go to the present, share screen, and let's do this. So if you look on today's payouts, I've got the double juvenile with the turf. So if you go to the odds and go to the probables, these are the probable will pays. So if you want to see which race do you want to see, Mark, if you're still on there, if you look at the Juvenile Classic doubles with Citizen Bull, that's probably the one you're looking at. And if you go to the doubles, they're going to be paying well, let me tell you. $138 with Forever Young, $122 with Fierceness. So those are some of, that's how you'd see the double payoffs with Express Bet. You can do the same thing if you go back to Twin Spires. So those, Mark, are how you take a look at the Soul of an Angel. Yes, I think she might like a fast pace. I think she's another horse that stretched out, ran some big races, but I always like the cutback type horses on these big days because a lot of times these fractions are fast and all of the paces tomorrow are projected to be fast. Now, Scylla, the reason why I pointed her out, gets Mike Smith. He does well at Del Mar. 5 for 9 wins, 3 seconds. Second to Society. She did run at Del Mar, a mile and a 16th. She cuts back. But look at way at the bottom. She ran 6 furlongs. She won by 2. I think she's always been the type of a horse that wanted 6 to 7 furlongs in Scylla. Now, another one to take a look at in that turf sprint. Got some long shots for you. Star of Mystery had a nice prep at Keeneland. Brad Sell, 2-time Grade 1 winner in Europe this year. Arzak, who ran behind Cogburn a couple of times. If you look at it, Cogburn, couple of things to point out again, just to do some handicapping. You know, last year this horse was running at Lone Star. This horse was 8-1 at Churchill Downs on turf sprint day. He's never really ran 5 furlongs except for last year twice in Texas, but those were listed stakes. Now been running 5.5 and 6 furlongs. Due to the Del Mar turf course, this sprint is going to be 5 furlongs tomorrow. So I don't think Cogburn has the raw speed to be on the lead tomorrow. And yes, Aidan O'Brien, a couple of winners today on the track here at Del Mar. Of course, he's got 10 runners this year at the Breeders' Cup. Now, Cogburn definitely going to be favored in that turf sprint. But I ran my numbers through a computer program, and this kind of just looks at pace. It looks at days off. It looks at class. And it sees a pretty competitive turf sprint. So I wouldn't bet Cogburn at too low of a price. I think Arzak is in play. Believing is possible with Ryan Moore. Brad Sell is possible. Big Invasion ran in this race last year, and you could definitely make the case for Star of Mystery off that prep at Keeneland. Now in the Distaff, biggest favorite of the weekend is going to be Torpedo Anna. Of course, Torpedo Anna trained by Ken McPeak. Raging Sea and Candide are the other big horses in that race. Ken McPeak winless in the Breeders' Cup, 0 for 37. He's had quite a few seconds in the Breeders' Cup. Torpedo Anna won the Cotillion Stakes, won the Kentucky Oaks. Overall, hard to find better fillies than this. 9 starts, 7 wins, 2 seconds. Gunsong, who ran second in the Cotillion, came back to run a big race last week, second place. She ran second to Fierceness in the Travers. Basically, she's getting a stretch out from 1 mile and a 16th, but Parks, I thought, was playing a little bit demanding that day. So overall, Torpedo Anna going to be probably 2 to 5 in that Breeders' Cup Distaff. If you're looking to try to beat Torpedo Anna, the only horse that I could see is Raging Sea. She's got 3 straight wins. She's won 5 out of 6. She's got Flavian Prat, 7 for 12 lifetime. I know the Japan horse is undefeated, but she's been running slow, 2:04 for 1.25 miles. She's been running 1 mile and 5/16. I just don't think she wants to run 1 mile and 1/8. I think she's more of a plotter, cutting back to that 1 mile and 1/8. Of course, East Avenue almost ate the dirt as he was run on. Chancer bounced after that big race. The problem is with closers, when they don't fire, they just don't fire. And now I really can't make an excuse for Jonathan's Way and Ferocious. Ferocious just may be over-raced. He's ran 4 times now. And overall, today was not a good day for the Japan runners. I think people bet them down today. I think their prices will float a little bit tomorrow. Tomorrow, I think, would be the day to play the Japan runners, but I wouldn't be playing Awesome Result in that Distaff. Now you've got the turf. You've got the filly taking on the boys, Emily Upjohn, Rusham Park, and Shire from Japan. Rebels Romance won the 2022 Breeders' Cup. Rebels Romance, he's a stout stayer. He went to Germany, beat the best distance horses there, had a big race in Europe, big races in Hong Kong. Emily Upjohn almost beat Blue Stocking the last time. Blue Stocking ran her down, and then Blue Stocking ran and won the Arc after defeating Emily Upjohn. So let's see what happens tomorrow. Rusham Park, a distance horse, 1.5 miles should be perfect for that one. Shayar had a rough trip last year in the Breeders' Cup turf, kind of got trapped in, ran third. Of course, Augusta Rodin got the perfect trip in the Breeders' Cup turf last year. Now, Farbridge, I think he's coming off a couple of nice efforts, but point out he did run in 2 5-horse fields in those 2 wins. Now he's got to face a 12-horse field, so I'm going to be fading Farbridge as I think he's just facing better horses and classier horses tomorrow. Joe T had a rough day betting, but hey, we got tomorrow. I've got a couple of doubles alive. I did hit the exacta in the turf sprint because I had that 4-horse, but otherwise I had a Mercive, but I didn't have the second place finisher in that race. So overall, some mixed results today. Did have 3 winners overall, 2 winners on top. I'll take that on a 5-horse card for Breeders' Cup. Rebels Romance, again, this is a pure 1.5 mile horse, class, wins races, 14 for 21. Godolphin Blue, they're going to be tough tomorrow. They had a nice winner today. We'll see if they come back and can get another one, Immersive, winning today. The Classic, Arthur's Ride out of post position 12. Forever Young out of the rail post position. Sierra Leone, a 3-year-old taking on older horses. You do have to point out Forever Young doesn't break well, and he did draw the rail. Now, we did see East Avenue break a little bit slow today. He ate a lot of dirt. Forever Young did have the rail the last time in his Japan prep. Now, that was a 2:04, and he did run a 2:04 in the Derby. So he's going to have to run a 2:02 tomorrow at Del Mar to probably win the Breeders' Cup Classic at 1.25 miles. seems to be training well. I think he's live. It looks like he's going to be co-favored from looking at the daily double will pays. Fierceness and Forever Young are the co-favorites, but we'll have to see what happens tomorrow. If the Japans lose early on, I think some of the people start fading the Japan runners. Hello to the Traveler. Good to have you on the show. So Forever Young, probably going to be about 5-1. It looks like 5-1 from the daily double will pays. City of Troy, morning line favorite, never ran on the dirt. The trainer 0 for 17, but O'Brien did boot home a couple home. He's by Justify, but the mare side, Galileo is the first mare. Theatrical is the second mare. It's all turf on the female side. If he was like 5-1, I would consider betting him. At 5-2 or 3-1, they didn't really play him in the doubles. He's kind of mixed in with Fierceness and Forever Young. He was bet down with East Avenue, but East Avenue didn't win. So I'm not really sure if the steam is on him. He might get played in the win pool, and I think Forever Young is probably going to be about 4-1 in the win pool. City of Troy probably 9-2. Fierceness right around 4-1. I think Fierceness might be barely favored on the win odds, but we'll see on the projected double will pays. I did want to point out Dermasotagaki had a nice 5 furlong and 58 workout, galloped out 6 furlongs and 112. He gets blinkers on. He did get hit at the gate in the Kentucky Derby last year, made a mid-race move into a fast pace. He had a great workout. Somebody to think about at 20-1 if you want to take a look at a shot in the Breeders' Cup Classic. The price will be right. And he runs nothing but big races. Saudi Cup, Dubai World Cup, Grade 1 races. Last year in the Breeders' Cup, he was second to White Abario. Don't forget that about Dermasotagaki. D likes Newgate. Of course, he prepped in the California Crown. Made a big move mid-stretch. Looked like he was going to win. Kind of hung, but that was kind of a first race off a little bit of a layoff. He did run a big race against Subsanador in the Santa Anita Handicap. Fierceness, remember, 5 for 5 if he leads at the stretch call. Will he lead at the stretch call on tomorrow's race? And Highland Falls, somebody's asking about. You know, huge race in the Jockey Club. Went toe-to-toe all the way around. Dueled Arthur's Rider's submission. He's by Curlin. They're switching jockeys, though. Flavian Pratt rode him the last time. He sticks on Sierra Leone, switches to Luis Saez. If Luis Saez gets aggressive, I'm not sure he can outrun City of Troy and Fierceness early, along with Arthur's Ride. I think tomorrow, Highland Falls is going to have to come off the pace. The Traveler is playing Highland Falls and Forever Young for the Exacta. You've got Joe T playing Forever Young, Fierceness, Uthba, Tesoro, and City of Troy. That could be a nice Exacta box. Nothing wrong with that. Meanwhile, the classic pace is projected to be fast. We've got potentially Dermasotagaki. You've got Fierceness on the lead. Arthur's Ride runs his best races when he's on the lead. Arthur's Ride out of post position 12. I can't see any other way for him to have a chance but to be prominent early tomorrow. If he does come in, that'll pin Fierceness on the inside. And all of Fierceness's best races, the Breeders' Cup Juvenile, the Florida Derby, the Jim Dandy, and the Travers, Fierceness made his move on the outside. So if he's outside of City of Troy and inside of Arthur's Ride, Fierceness could get a rough trip. Now, the world famous Siggy Mendoza joins us. He's got a YouTube channel. If you're interested in that, he says Euro Horses tends to break slow. Siggy watches a lot of the Dubai Carnival, watches the European races. And so Siggy says that overall, Forever Young, I believe he says, has broken slow a couple of times. Now, your mid-pack runners, we've got Ushpa Tesoro, we've got Newgate, we've got a horse like the Japan runner. I think Ushpa Tesoro will be more further back. So if we get a fast pace, that could favor the off-the-pace runners tomorrow in the Classic. Remember, Forever Young, Derma and Ushpa. Derma could be closer to the pace, Forever Young mid-pack. Ushpa Tosoro more from behind. Mott trained Arthur's Ride just for this race. Yeah, he came back really fast from the Whitney to the Jockey Club. Now he's got 60 days off. I'm expecting Arthur's Ride to run a better race tomorrow, more like his Whitney performance. Now we've got the filly and mare turf. You got Warlike Goddess, Cinderella's Dream. Don't forget about Didia. She won the New York Stakes on Belmont weekend. Content. This is a 3-year-old filly trained by Aidan O'Brien. 3-year-old fillies do well in the filly and mare turf. And then Hang the Moon is your closer. Those are some of the horses I'm looking at. You know, a couple of things to note. Warlike Goddess is 7 years old. 6 years and older in the Breeders' Cup usually do not do well. And Warlike Goddess has kind of lost her speed. She's kind of more of a grinder. She is going to like the distance. She's back for the 4th year in a row in the Breeders' Cup. You know, I like her, but I don't like her as the morning line favorite. I think you can use her in an exacta box, but if it becomes a sprint off slow fractions, I do prefer the younger horses. Joe T says if Fierceness gets out of the gate and leads, this race could be over. Yeah, I think the key to Fierceness is to get the lead early in this spot. Now, the Traveler likes Didia. Warlike Goddess, again, I just don't think she has the kick anymore at 7 years old, but she definitely has the distance capability. Anthony is tossing Warlike Goddess. Can't fault you for that. Now, here's Content. I did want to talk about her. 5 for 14, nice wins. Grade 1 class, ran second in the Irish Oaks with Ryan Moore. Gets Frankie Dettori. Aidan O'Brien and Frankie Dettori. You've heard that one before. You know, look at, she did run against Friendly Soul. Friendly Soul was one of the better grade 1 runners. She ended up not coming over for the filly and mare, but she was thinking about that race. So Content is definitely a horse at 6-1 that I would definitely be looking at in doubles and pick 3s tomorrow, and even a pick 5. Now the sprint, we're expecting a fast pace. The projector has got a couple of horses potentially on the lead. You've got Straight No Chaser. You've got Skelly. JL says he likes Content, but there's a big chance Full Count Felicia gets loose. Now, Full Count Felicia did go wire to wire. She got big leads the last 2, but one thing to keep in mind, JL, is Full Count Felicia, as Siggy Mendoza noticed, doesn't get Lasix. She had Lasix the last 2 times. Doesn't get Lasix tomorrow. Just something to note. Maybe she doesn't need it, but she did get loose on the lead up in Canada with Lasix the last couple of times. Anthony agrees with Traveler. Sierra Leone, I think he's going to be closing. He gets a lot more pace. He gets a full field. I think Sierra Leone is going to run his best race of the year tomorrow. Keeps Flavian Prat. Flavian Prat got off Highland Falls and committed to Sierra Leone. The sprint pace could be so JL says good call. First I've heard of that. Take a look at that before you go too hog wild and Full Count. Again, the price will be right. So at 8 or 9-1, but I don't know if she's a key, but you do just have to look at some of these different factors on that. Sprint, Skelly and Straight No Chaser. You got Mulligan, who's good. Federal Judge got a fast rail the last time at Keeneland. Federal Judge, a big race at Saratoga. You know, another horse that could be closing is Gun Pilot. And then also, I think that race sets up for a closer. Could be Mulligan from Off the Pace because Mulligan's been running 7 furlongs. He doesn't have the raw speed. He could get a nice trip. Straight No Chaser did defeat Nakatomi. There's 3-4 people that absolutely love Nakatomi as the stretch runner coming from Off the Pace. He has run in big races. Nakatomi could be live. Look at that. He ran against the speed bias against Federal Judge in the Phoenix Stakes. Gets Tyler Gaffleone. Tyler Gaffleone rode him in the Vanderbilt, and then Spencer rode him in the Golden Shaheen. He did lose to Don Frankie. Now, Don Frankie is a fast horse from Japan. but he's never faced speed like Straight No Chaser. So I think Don Frankie could be part of that pace battle tomorrow. And Nakatomi and Remake for JL. Lots of speed in that race, in the sprint race tomorrow. Straight No Chaser, one of the fastest horses I've ever seen, won the Maryland Sprint, stumbled out of the gate in the Run Happy, went up to the lead, faded late, but that was off a year layoff. I think Straight No Chaser's a fast horse at 6-1, definitely worth using. Did run in the Malibu, which is a strong 7 furlong race for 3-year-olds only. Straight No Chaser, very fast. Then you've got Federal Judge. Do want to note that Flavian Prat rode it the last time in the Phoenix. He is off. You've got Irad Ortiz on Federal Judge. D likes Remake. Says Remake will fold like a Coro Sig. Anthony says no money to be made on the sprint. We'll see. I think if you can get one of the favorites to finish third, maybe you can get a nice trifecta, maybe key a nice double. Have to see what the odds are. Federal Judge, this is a horse to me that's getting good. Won at Saratoga, a 106 buyer, a 100 buyer, set the pace in the Woody Stevens. So for 3-year-olds, the two best races at 7 furlongs are the Woody Stevens and the Malibu. So Straight No Chaser ran in the Malibu. Federal Judge ran in the Woody Stevens last year. Long layoff, came back, ran second, and then back-to-back wins. So I think Federal Judge is the type of horse that got it good. Overall, the pace of the race, you've got Skelly, Straight No Chaser, and Don Frankie as your speed. I think those are the 3 speed balls in the Breeders' Cup Sprint tomorrow on Saturday. Then you got your pressers. I've got Mulligan, Federal Judge, and Remake as pressers in the sprint. And overall, you've got Straight No Chaser, Federal Judge, Mulligan, and Gun Pilot. I think those are the key horses to take a look at in that Breeders' Cup Sprint. Could go many different ways. I think the favorite in that race is going to be 4-1. So I think it's a good race if you can pick the winner or get a horse to run first or second for an exacta in that race. Another one to keep an eye on, Turf Mile. These are some of my contenders. I've got Diego Vasquez. I should note, Notable Speech won 3 of his races on the synthetic, and he did not run as a 2-year-old. I'm not really sure how good of a turf miler he really is. Ran a big race, but he's had a couple of clunkers. Johannes, the best American horse on the West Coast. Carl Spackler, the best American horse on the East Coast. Carl Spackler, 3 great races, but he did draw the 12th post position. The Traveler, he's high on Highland Falls. That's on Louis Saez. More Than Looks, closed the last 2 times. He's kind of got that Ivar look. He's going to be closing down the lane. Porta Fortuna, a filly, 3 grade 1 wins. She's fast. Porta Fortuna, definitely one to take a look at in that turf mile. The dirt mile to close it out. Steve says the Urals will be out of the money in this year's mile. He's taking the Americans. That gives you Johannes. You get Carl Spackler, and you get More Than Looks. Dirt mile, you've got Cagliostro. He ran in the slot the last race. He stumbled out of the gate the race before in the 4-go, losing to Mulligan. Pipeline has got speed. He could get loose tomorrow. Sees the Gray as a 3-year-old taking on older horses. You've got Tumbarumba. I think he's always good at a mile. Take a long look at Tumbarumba. And then Domestic Product, Chad Brown, a 3-year-old taking on older horses, beat Prince of Monaco in the last race, the 7 furlong race. But Domestic Product now has got to go against older horses. Saudi Crown, one of the favorites in that race, kind of flopped in the Saudi Derby, Saudi Cup, but then came back. He was supposed to run in the ACAC, but it rained that day and he had a sore foot. So he kind of missed his prep race. Anthony Raza likes Domestic Product to win. I think there's a lot of speed. Overall, the pace projector for the dirt mile is projecting a fast pace with Saudi Crown, and Joe T likes Domestic Product and sees the Gray for his exacta box. JL likes 8-9 to save the weekend. So good luck, JL, in that dirt mile. Of course, a fast pace expected, a full field, and that is nice to see for the dirt mile. These are some of the long shots you may want to take a look at that I pointed out tomorrow. Shayar, Rusham Park, Gun Pilot, Arthur's Ride in Sierra Leone. Those are some long shots to take a look. Of course, yes, Nick's Go went wire to wire in the dirt mile, then came back and won the Classic. So Steve says Saudi Crown going to run a big race in that dirt mile tomorrow. Of course, Saudi Crown won at the fairgrounds, and then he won his last race, but he did miss the ACAC. Now, the Breeders' Cup Classic preview is up. You can watch that on the channel. I've also got the Distaff preview up. And remember, my racing tip sheet will come out tomorrow, an hour before the first post. Had a couple of winners today, including Magnum Force and Immersive. I had the third place. My third place horse in the juvenile was Citizen Bull. So overall, an okay day on the picks. That'll come out an hour before the post. D says Saudi Crown is best bet of the day. Joe T likes Arthur's Ride as a long shot. Anthony Raza likes Gun Pilot as his long shot. Anybody else have any long shots tomorrow to keep a look at? Of course, Torpedo Anna, the big favorite of the day, probably going to be 2-5. You've got Cogburn, probably going to be about 8-5 in the turf sprint. So a great day of handicapping tomorrow. We'll see what shakes out. Some big races. Aiden O'Brien live. He had 2 winners today. Ryan Moore rode well. And Bob Baffert got the job done in the juvenile. Let's see if he can pick up any winners tomorrow. Fierceness and City of Troy, most likely going to be co-favorites in that Breeders' Cup Classic, along with Forever Young. And remember what D. Wayne Lucas always says on these big days, Alice Verte is long shot in the Torpedo Anna. Yeah, I'll be playing an exacta Torpedo Anna over Alice Verte. And he's going to put his 401k on Cogburn. Good luck. Otherwise, Joe T will be working the rest of his life. D says Newgate, Bob Baffert in the Classic. We'll see what shakes out there. And remember, D. Wayne Lucas always says people have opinions, horses have the facts. Share, like, and subscribe. More videos coming up. And a big juvenile day today. Tomorrow, Joe L's going to close. He says SS with Torpedo Anna to close it out. Good luck tomorrow and Breeders' Cup Saturday. Big day of racing.